I love Eternals, which is clearly a very unpopular opinion considering that, while you can't say it was a flop, it was the MCU's second lowest domestic grossing film ever made, outperforming only one other MCU film, The Incredible Hulk. Are you joking me right now? Are the Incredible Hulk... And that's just the box office. When checking the Rotten Tomatoes reviews for all MCU films, it's all the way down here. Come on, people think it's worse than Thor: The Dark World? Are you kidding me? So not only is it one of the worst performing movies the MCU has ever made, but also the worst rated movie the MCU has ever made. Needless to say, people do not like this movie.
I'm sorry, what are we watching? Because
Is this new? Because I hate it.
Which, to be honest with you, blew my mind after watching it, because after having watched it about 3 times, I can confidently say that I love this movie. So with this video, I want to do 2 main things. First, break down why I think Eternals did so poorly, and why people dislike it so much, and second, talk about why this movie is actually phenomenal. Let's start with why it was a failure. Eternals was released in 2021, which, excluding Spider-Man, was a pretty not great year for Marvel compared to previous years. Of course, one of the main reasons for this is the global COVID pandemic, but I think another reason is that Eternals as a group is basically completely unknown to the MCU's general audience. What's funny to me is that I find so many people complaining that there aren't as many original movies out there anymore. And that's totally fair considering the sheer amount of remakes recently, as well as every other movie and their mother wanting to make their own cinematic universe, with sequel after sequel, and people comparing them, of course, to the MCU. But all this leads to people saying that they want something new and original, which is great, but I don't think they actually do. Getting an audience to go out to a new original movie is hard. Not only do they have to, 1, hear about the movie to know it's even out there, then 2, you have to convince them that it's worth even going out to the movie and risking exposure to COVID, and then 3, you have to make sure that they think it's worth paying the $12 to $15 price tag, which, if you have, say, a family of 4, and you want to buy drinks and popcorn and other stuff, the prices go sky high. Now, if you're going to see something not new and original, like the Avengers or a Spider-Man movie, of course, people do not care about any of this. They, 1, already know it's out, and have been waiting months or even years to see the next movie in the series. 2, they're way more willing to leave the house for something that they really want to see. And of course, 3, the price tag might suck, but come on! You're a monster if you don't take your family to see the new Spider-Man movie. But Eternals? Who? Despite the film community saying that Marvel movies all follow the same formula and there's a lack of original films and ideas in general, getting an audience to see a movie that they've never heard of in 2021 is really stinking hard. Of course, there's nothing really wrong with any of this, and it's just my extremely informed opinion.
Well, you know what's never saved the planet? Your sarcasm.
But I think this shows one big reason why Eternals did so horribly, despite it being a really great movie. TLDR, circumstances. Now, let's talk about why I love this movie and why you should too. Spoiler alert, if you haven't seen the movie, now is the time to go pause the video, watch the movie, come back. It's really great. But if I haven't convinced you just yet, stick around to see why the movie is so great. Alright, thanks. My favorite part about Eternals is that it's such a different Marvel movie compared to the normal Marvel mold that we've grown accustomed to. I could way oversimplify the Marvel movie formula like this. There's a really tough bad guy, and we need to stop them no matter how difficult it is. And don't get me wrong, I absolutely love this formula, but it's always interesting to me when a movie defies expectations. And that's exactly what Eternals does best, defy expectations. I think the movie knows that it's different and plays off this advantage in a big way. The whole movie is constantly changing their narrative about what you think you know. To show you what I mean, let me break down my thought process the first time I watched the movie. We're introduced to the story by a little title scroll introducing us to the quote-unquote basis of the movie. And it tells us that this big guy, Arishem, basically created the sun and brought life to the universe, and he's pretty much a god. But then these monsters called deviants come from deep space out of nowhere, and their main goal is to feed on intelligent life and create chaos. So they're the bad guys, right? So to fix this, Arishem sent these immortal heroes from the planet Olympia to come and eliminate the deviants. So, okay, the Eternals are the good guys and the deviants are the bad guys, right? Well, we meet the Eternals, and they're this big team, and each of them has these cool powers. Yay, it's fun. But really, it shows that this Lady Ajax is the leader of the good guys, the Eternals, and the Superman guy is her number 2. Flies around, has lasers in his eyes. This kid literally calls him Superman. Anyway, skipping ahead to modern day, hey, they wiped out all the deviants, yay, but shoot, there's another one, and they can heal themselves now, and they're trying to talk? The heck is going on? They decide to go talk to Ajax, the leader, to see if she knows what's up. But wait, Ajax is dead? And then she picks Cersei to be the new leader? What about her number 2? Now, Arishem sucks her up to the spirit realm, where he tells her that everything she knew was a lie, and that Ajax knew all of this. They were never sent to protect Earth from the deviants like we thought. In fact, they didn't even come from deep space, and the Eternals didn't come from Olympia. They were all made by Arishem the Celestial. So wait, is Ajax the bad guy because she's been lying to us for thousands of years? But then wait, Arishem is the one who did all this, so maybe he's the bad guy? Well, no, because there's this new baby Celestial in the center of the Earth waiting to emerge, and they draw power from people on the Earth, so once there's enough people, he can come out and create billions of new lives and planets.
So that's nice, but wait, his emergence will destroy the whole Earth? Ooh, nice. So some of the Eternals are like, no, that's wrong, Ajax wasn't bad. She knew all this and wanted to stop it too. But wait. Superman killed her to stop her from telling? So it wasn't the deviants. And wait, the deviants weren't even bad?
I honestly loved the back and forth in this movie, always keeping you guessing, keeping you on your toes. But once you get past all that, maybe in your second viewing, this is where, in my opinion, the movie goes from good to great. Because if you go into it looking to find a bad guy, you're not going to find one. Because just like in real life, there isn't just a big bad guy. Really, this movie is one big moral dilemma. You could say that the big bad guy in this movie really is a question. Is mass murdering billions of humans right now worth it if you could potentially create trillions later? Really, no good way of answering that. And the way this movie explores that moral conundrum is through the different perspectives of the film's characters. Now, I think a lot of people's complaints about new big team movies like Eternals is the lack of focus and development on each of the characters. This is probably because there's only so much time in a 2-hour-long movie to develop all the characters and give them proper motivations, and you're not wrong. If I'm going to be honest, when I first watched the movie, I was a little confused by some of the characters' motivations, as I'm sure many of you were. And although I will admit it's not a perfect movie by any means, if you look, there really is a lot of stuff to go off of with each character, and it really starts to make a lot of sense once you start putting it together. So, to start, I don't want to take up too much time and spoil the whole movie, so I'm only going to talk about my 3 favorite characters: Druig, Phastos, and my favorite, Sprite. The other characters are interesting and great and stuff, but I want to talk about what I find most interesting because it's my video, and suck it up. So let's take a look at how these 3 characters pick sides and why they do so. Okay, so first, let's start with Druig and Phastos. Now, Druig and Phastos are kind of 2 sides of the same coin, you could say. They're both technically on the same side of being against Tiamat emerging and destroying the Earth, but for almost very different reasons. So, to start, Druig can mind control people. That is his power. And throughout the whole movie, throughout his whole life, he has seen millions of wars, millions of deaths, and so much death and destruction around him, knowing that he can stop it all. He has done it many times. He's been able to look at people, just go with his mind control and make them stop fighting. And he knows that he can stop this, but Ajax, the leader, tells him don't do this, and it really messes with him because he knows that if he were to stop them, then people wouldn't die. But really, that's kind of goes against what the Eternals are supposed to do. But he still loves humans. It all comes from him loving humans. And he wants them not to die, ultimately. So then we have Phastos, who can create technology. And he kind of goes against Druig in the beginning of the film because Druig wants to stop people from fighting. But not that Phastos wants people to fight, but he wants to continue to give them technology. But Druig thinks the more technology they have, the more they're going to fight. And Phastos is like, okay, but if we give them technology, the more they'll advance, and ultimately the more lives that they'll produce, because, you know, with technology comes more life-sustaining alternatives and stuff like that. But at one point in the movie, Phastos goes too far with the technology, gives them too much, and they create some sort of bomb, an atomic bomb it looks like, and it kills everything, of course. And Phastos is torn apart. He realizes that anytime he gives them technology, all they do with it is find ways to kill themselves with it, or to kill others with it. And he gives up on humanity. And he also gives up on using his powers. But then way down the line in modern times, he finds a family. And this kind of changes his viewpoint. Now he has something that he wants to protect. He loves his spouse, and he loves his kid, and he loves his family. So when prompted with the question of should we blow up the Earth, to potentially make trillions of people. He doesn't even consider it. He knows that destroying the Earth will kill his family. And he goes, no, that's not worth it. It's not even about the people. I don't think he really cares for people too much. He has kind of a lot of spite towards humans. But he loves his family, so not worth it for him. Whereas Druig decides to go off, and he doesn't have a family, but he has this little village that he controls and takes care of, and they have no war. It's a very peaceful village, and I think he loves these people. So I think he also decides not to allow Tiamat to emerge because of this. So like I said, they are both kind of on the same sides, but for different reasons. So now we come to my favorite character, Sprite. Sprite's main power is that she has the ability to create illusions. But Sprite's drawback is that while all Eternals never age, they were all created as adults, in adult bodies. But Sprite, who never ages, was created with a little girl's body. She's a child. But she's actually thousands of years old, and everybody still treats her like a child. Oh my god, that would piss me off. Oh my god, that would make me so angry. But she decides at the end of the film to go against the Eternals, or the main group of the Eternals that don't want Tiamat to emerge. She decides that she wants Tiamat to emerge. And I think this comes from the fact that she doesn't have much love for humans. She has a lot of spite. In fact, in this scene, they say this.
I've always envied you, Cersei. Because you get to live as one of them. And I never could. You know why I hated living with humans? Because they reminded me of things I didn't even know I wanted. Because of them, now I want to know what it feels like to grow up. To fall in love. To have a family. And to know in the end, I've lived.
So I think Sprite, you could say, has a lot of spite for humans because she's never been able to age. There's also this really good scene in the very beginning. The first time we see Sprite, she's doing this.
I like the song.
Me too.
Do you want to dance? Wait, what the hell? Your hand.
You've had too much to drink. I gotta go.
Isn't it? So at the end of the film, Kingo tells us,
Because she loves them. Oh, you guys didn't pick up on that?
which maybe is part of it, but I think that's selling her character short. I also think she just wants it to end. I don't know if I explained this yet, but if they were to allow Tiamat to emerge, then all their memories would be wiped, and they would start over on another planet. I think maybe she's hoping that she gets a new body, or that she just doesn't remember all this crap. She kind of just wants to give up. It's almost a little suicidal, you could say, but it's just really sad. And I feel for her. I understand where she's coming from with this. If I was in her situation, my God, I would hate it, knowing that I am thousands of years older than everybody, and everybody still treats me as a child. And at the end, we get a good arc for her. I don't want to spoil what happens, but it's very nice. So at the end of the movie, despite there being a clear-cut ending, we're still left with a lot of questions. Who was right? Was it for the greater good? Should they have let Tiamat emerge and destroy the Earth? One of my favorite lines in the film was this one.
How many of them would be willing to die so that billions more could be born?
Because he's not wrong. Could Tiamat have created a group of people much greater than humans could ever dream? Was Arishem even telling the whole truth about the emergence? Remember that in order for Tiamat to have the power needed to emerge, there needed to be a large population on Earth. So, was Thanos snapping, wiping out half the Earth, a good thing? We find out later in the movie that Thanos was actually an Eternal as well. Could it have been that Thanos was right all along? This has so much implications for the whole MCU as a whole, and I think only time will tell. Put your thoughts to these questions in the comments down below. I'd love to read some of your theories. Now, if all this theoretical, moral, philosophical crap doesn't interest you, like it does for me, I want to point out that that's not all this movie is either. There's also a lot of really cool action scenes and sets. One of my favorite being when they're in the forest village with Druig, and they get attacked by deviants. They have this awesome scene that looks directly inspired by the classic bear attack scene from The Revenant. For reference, here's a small clip from the bear scene in The Revenant, so you could see how it was inspired. Down to the details with the dirt and the breath on the virtual lens, really selling this shot in the details. Absolutely awesome. Then another one of my favorite scenes actually comes from the Speeder Macari, when she's fighting Superman. And their use of super speed feels so powerful, as it should be, and I love it. I don't think a lot of superheroes with super speed in movies really show them just how powerful that superpower is, but she found unique ways to use her powers. And really, despite some of these powers that they have seeming useless in battle, they really find unique ways for each of the characters to be useful in their own way. I think it was genius, really creative uses. So like I said, I love this movie, not only because it's just a great movie, but I really do think it sets up so much for Marvel in the next phase of the MCU as a whole. So please, there was still a lot of great in the movie that I didn't get to talk about, so if you enjoyed, go watch Eternals for the first time, or if you already saw it, watch it again with this stuff in mind. If you enjoyed this video, please drop a like and subscribe, ring that bell because it means the world to me. See ya in the next one. Thanks, bye bye.